From 1944 until the mid-1990s, broadcasts originated from this station, the Voice of America. Their motto was, "We will tell you the truth." We're going to go inside and we're going to see the legendary Bethany relay station located here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Traveling home from Hamvention, our journey took us to Cincinnati, Ohio, to the Voice of America National Museum located at the site of the Bethany relay station. Voice of America was created in 1942 to combat Nazi propaganda. The Bethany station went on the air in 1944 and continued to broadcast through the Cold War years until it was decommissioned in 1996.
Air was because of this radio right here. It was called the Volksempfänger. That was German for the people's receiver. This is what Hitler was mass producing and made sure every household had one. Hitler's only problem is he thought he was the only one on the dial. And of course, VOA's goal was to get their shortwave message in there and broadcast on his same frequency. And that's what VOA did. So after some time, the German people learned that there were two people on the dial. And interesting enough, Hitler's guys were not dumb enough, but they tried to jam our signal. So and the way that we jam it is tuned right up against us. Well, with 1.5 million watts pointed at them, and whatever they had, they would jam themselves when they did that. So they'd move away. So what the German people just got accustomed to doing was going up the dial and saying, look, there's somebody here speaking fluent German. He's telling one story, this guy's telling another story. So that's how the people got accustomed to picking and choosing what version of the news was out there. So somebody said the other day, kind of like today, I went, no, don't confuse that. So, no, back then they just told it like it was and let it fly from there. Interesting enough, these came with this orange sticker. There's a blow up right on the wall behind you. The short version of what that sticker says is if you were caught listening to something else besides the Führer, your family might not find you in the morning. That's how they wanted you to know how serious things were. There was no broadcast facility in this building. Everything came from Washington, D.C. Well, it initially came from New York City. Someone corrected me on that before. But when they were in full operation, there were 12 leased telephone lines. Each one of them had a separate language on it. So there would be English, Spanish, German, Portuguese, whatever it may be. And then every day VOA would call in and say, okay, we're going to broadcast into South America today. Take the Spanish signal, put it on whatever transmitter, and put it on the antennas that are pointed towards South America. And that's pretty much what they did every day. It was figured out where the hot spots were and then broadcasted back to them. One of our local universities was going to create a diorama for us, and they quickly realized that VOA sat on 644 acres. That's a square mile. If you came in off of I-75, there's a Home Depot. There were antennas where Home Depot is. So to give you a sight, when you drive back, just envision that whole area was filled with antennas. There were 24 of these rhombic antennas. The rhombic antennas, the takeoff angle is the point of the diamond. So they were pointed in every which direction. To give you an idea about the rhombics, this one looks a little bit bigger than the rest. One of the biggest ones was way south, way north of us. From point to point, it was 900 feet. 3 football fields. And these were 3-wire rhombics because of the amount of power that they were throwing at them. So you can imagine how much cabling is in there. And they were up somewhere around 150 feet. What came later were the Sturba curtains. These were the ones that were the powerhouse. This one was pointed at 23 degrees on the azimuth chart, which took it right into the middle of Germany. This one was pointed at the middle Mediterranean, which gave them North Africa and Greece and Italy in those areas. This one was comprised of 4 dipoles, and I'm told that they could put 2 transmitters on one section of this. So now you're at a 500,000 watts at 22 dB. So everything back here was all done overhead. All of the lines were copper lines that were strung on telephone poles. You and I are kind of blessed that if we need some kind of matching transformer, we go to the catalog and buy something that takes us from this impedance to this impedance. All of the matching done in these lines, we have a couple pictures around the building. They would take, somebody took the time to figure out these 2 copper bars would come in, get bent in, get closer together, and then get bent in again. And what came out the other end was 75 ohms with 150 ohms put in. That's how they did all the matching. This room happens to be the original control room where everything was done to control everything out back. As time progressed, they moved the control room out into the center there. But we're very happy to have this as our shack. We have recently renovated the whole building, the whole shack. During our renovation, we bought some new equipment and repurposed some old. We have a 7610 ICOM and an L-Craft KPA 1500 amp, a 7300 and ALS 1306 amp. We usually do digital at this station. We have a new Yaesu FT DX101 with another L-Craft amp. And now you know where our money went. And then a 7300 on the end. And the reason for all the monitors is to kind of encourage the kids and the public to look at things. I mean, you would never do a contest and stare at that thing all day, but the kids think it's neat. And of course the weather looks nice today, but we keep an eye on the weather because of the location of our towers and our antennas. Everything around here is big lightning magnets, so we keep an eye on that during the storms. What we try to tell people, and you'll get into that more in the back, but everyone's talked to somebody in Europe on 100 watts. What you're going to see out back is VOA had 6 transmitters. Each one of them was rated at 250,000 watts. All told, they had 1.5 million watts of RF power. Wow. To get their signal into Germany.
I guess they could limp by.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it gets better than that, and I'll show you the original, the Sturba curtain antennas, which were the ones that were pointed right towards Germany and right towards the middle Mediterranean. Those things had a 22 dB gain, so when you put 250,000 watts on there, well, and the result was, during one of Hitler's speeches, he referred to this building as the Cincinnati Liars. We actually have t-shirts in our gift shop that have the Cincinnati liars, because he knew where the signal was coming from, but in the middle of corn country, he wasn't about to come over and challenge us.